G'day all, this is Weird. I've got an interesting one for you today. I've been asked several times to include commentary about what I'm thinking and what my actual strategies are during invasions, and that didn't really fit in with all of the other sort of word salad, stream of consciousness stupid stuff that I put in the invasion misadventures, so I decided to make a place for it to be on its own. So here it is, this is Invasions Explained. Let's get to it. Alright, this invasion starts in the usual way, with me actually looking for my opponent and trying to find them. I spawned very close to them, so I actually had to use my eyes and not my compass for once. Already, I'm taking a look at this situation, and I'm looking at this guy. He's quite brazenly putting on armor and changing his loadout in front of me, so I'm not assuming that he's a new player just making his way through the levels. I'm taking him seriously as either a Taunter's Tunger or a bonfire duelist with a taste for interesting scenery. I've seen what he's got out now. He's got the Ultra Greatsword out and he's standing on this very narrow pathway and seeming like he intends to fight there, so I chose the Zweihander to face that for reasons that will become apparent very soon. He does the bow, I do the bow. It never hurts to show a little bit of respect to your opponent. And we start going in here. Now, I notice immediately that that first swing just goes straight over his head, and that is definitely why he's choosing to fight here, because the lower ground holds an extreme advantage for him because he can hit me, and I can't hit him. Now, this next part is the first exchange. I get to the low ground, and now you see exactly why I use the Zweihander in this circumstance, because on this narrow ledge with a wall on one side, it's very unlikely that I'll be able to swing unimpeded from side to side, so having a Ultra Greatsword with a stab, even if it's not the crouch poke, is going to help me a lot against someone whose Greatsword can pretty much only swing unless he starts crouch poking or roll poking. At this point, it's largely just a exercise on spacing. Neither of us can really effectively attack unless we're on the low ground to each other, so we fight over that. Now, we're basically just fishing for each other at this point. I'm trying to catch him with the heavy when he runs into attack, and he's trying to jump over me so he can get the low ground in order to manage things on that end. Now, he actually rolls off the edge here, and I thought that was a mistake, and that was my own assumption, because as you'll see right here, Phantom comes in very ready for this entire circumstance and just starts blending me from behind. I take one look at this situation and I'm like, no, I am out of there like nobody's business. But the problem is that I'm out of the frying pan and into the fire, so I do as you should do in lava. I backstep as much as I can towards the place I want to go. At this point, I noticed that they're actually starting to throw projectiles at me, which is not something I was particularly a fan of, so I backstep around here, and then I change direction to put the building in between me and them, so I can get to the shore unimpeded. This is important because I'm taking damage in the lava, obviously, and getting staggered in there or getting otherwise additional damage during that process is just going to be very dangerous for me. But interestingly, that's a fact that works both ways, and we'll see that in a second. Now I reposition. I'm not over eager to reposition using the Phantom Finger just yet. That's always a bit of a roulette, so I see what I can do while I'm still on this side. I wonder if I can't get some vantage point or some good position if they start to follow me, but they have not followed me. So, since I've got this lovely line of sight to them, I take out the jar cannon and I start lobbing some shots. Now, the tactic I'm trying to employ here is the kind that will get them down to my level where I can fight them on my terms. And to do that, I can't shoot at them or at the ledge in front of them because that will just knock them back. What I start doing is I try and aim for the walls behind them and aim for those parts where the area around them is just narrow enough so that they can't outspace the explosion. If it happens and they don't dodge it, they'll be blown off the railing into the lava, potentially die from fall damage. It's all good for me. Now here the Phantom has actually gone down while I haven't been paying attention to him. He's trying to outflank me while I was apparently paying attention to his host, but unfortunately my position is really good here, so I can essentially turn my attention to him with no problems. The host can't pressure me in the meantime, and as far as I can tell, this guy's the only guy that can throw projectiles, so he's in an incredibly bad position now. He is using the correct method to deal with the lava. The backstep method is probably the slowest effective one, but the quick step method and the bloodhound step, both of those are very effective at traversing lava. Unfortunately, he is not paying attention to me in the slightest, so he just gets taken out exactly like I was worried that I would be. If you find yourself in a bad position, usually that position can be turned around on your opponent. That is the philosophy by which I live. Now, however, I've done pretty much all I can from that position. I need to Phantom Finger out and reposition and see if I can't get a better bearing on where the host is. So now I switch back to the Claymore, good all-rounder. I don't know what situation I'll find myself in, so I may as well be ready for anything. The Claymore's not the best at anything, but it's not the worst at anything either, and that's what the important part is. Now, he's in here, which is a very interesting place to be, because in a 3-man or a 2-man, that is a very dangerous place, an enclosed space where 2 people can swing with impunity, and I have to avoid both of them. So I don't go in after him. I wait for him to come to me, which he does. Obviously, I wasn't ready for that. Now I do follow him inside, because obviously his aggression is going to make whatever place I fight him in pretty moot unless there's either an element of elevation or something to, space him with, like a pillar or similar. And I can use the corners in this room to do that, and the doorway. So the doorway is going to be one of the key components of this fight. Both of us are effectively trying to bait the other. He's doing, standing jump attacks, I'm doing the standing heavy pokes with the Claymore, and exactly like what just happened, we're trying to essentially catch each other in trades or in bad spacings and punish them as much as we can for that. Fights with slower weapons are very ponderous in this way, and they're very punishing to people who simply spam because the recovery time is big and the swing time is big. So if you're just spamming, then half the time you are just going to get punished by a smaller weapon and they will have absolutely no danger from you. Now this guy's doing something very interesting in that he's using poison on his UGS, which is very effective because it actually does a decent build-up with such a large chunky weapon. But the presence of those throwing pots and the much more conservative attitude from him did tell me that he was not exactly filled up on pots and he was starting to get low. And lo and behold, as soon as he started to back off, I could pressure him and just take him out. That was a pretty clean invasion from all fronts and pretty well fought on all sides, but a couple of strategic mishaps from their end and a couple of cheeky plays from my end really sealed the deal there. And with that, we've reached the end of the first episode of Invasions Explained. I hope it's proved useful to some of you, and to everyone else, I hope it is at least entertained. I'm intending to make these shorter than the invasion misadventures, just because there's less to go over and I don't want to clutter them up with multiple invasions, but I hope that I'll be releasing them semi-regularly whenever I get an invasion that's a good demonstration of one thing or another, so look forward to it. And thank you for sticking with me until the end. Happy hunting, everyone.